what do you think, Ruben? Should we listen to some music? Should we listen to some Charlie?
Yeah, I'd rather not hear us speak. Let's hear some
Okay.
Charlie.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I was thinking we'll put this on. Here is the album that we're taking this from today. And this is, of course, going to knock me out, but at least it's not knocking out Ruben here. This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
this is a beautiful. Oh no, I can't do it this way. This is on the Soul Note label. This is Charlie's album Silence, which what a beautiful song that is too.
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
we should.
it
Oh,
is.
I love that song.
Right,
But with
right.
Chet Baker, beautiful piano player. I love this guy, Enrico Piranunzi.
Yeah.
Am I close to saying?
Piranunzi. Yeah, almost.
Piranunzi.
Piranunzi. Yeah. I have a story about him too. Yeah.
Oh, I would love
Go
to hear that. He's such a bad piano player, and of course the great Billy Higgins.
Yes.
But let me stop talking. Let me play this track, okay? So this is Visa from this album.
Nice.
invention. Oh man.
Oh yeah.
So just my apologies to Mr. Higgins, but just for the sake of time, we're gonna
Right,
end it there.
right.
I just wanted
There
to
we
get to
go.
that beautiful solo.
Well, I have a few things, right? It's funny, since this pandemic has started, I've, listened to a lot more music than I have ever, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so, no, that's not true. I've always listened to a lot of music, but let's just say it, I've been able to really focus like a lot on music and like really, be mindful of the things I'm listening to instead of in passing, kind of just like focus. And what I've been doing every once in a while, if I'm like just in the mode of pen and paper close or whatever, if I'm not looking at ESPN or some shit, it's I actually will jot down the things I'm hearing, or that I can relate to that really stick out, in the music or in a certain player. I do this not all the time, but every once in a while. And I said, I want to do this with Charlie.
That's
Since
cool.
for the and the things that stuck out for me, and that I probably knew before, but just looking at it on paper and then putting it into the ether, into my little mode, maybe makes me think about the bass a little bit more.
Yeah.
First of all, you mentioned that whole clicking thing, hearing his fingers snap, right?
Yes.
I always loved that about
Me too.
about recordings that Charlie has, and you hear that snap. But of course, the only time you hear it is when he's playing on the E string, almost
Right.
all the time, right? And
Yeah,
we know
that-
this,
that
and this
moment.
goes back to. I realized that my camera can't. I gotta step back a little bit.
There you-
Oh, you can't see
yeah.
my finger. I got get your stuff together, Ruben. Get this together before you get on the.
Take your time, man.
So it's like, I'm saying this because we had a yesterday you had was it yesterday or 2 days ago you had a
Oh, with the GPS.
yes,
The bass
and
GPS.
and he was talking about that, about I guess fingering, the fingers hitting the board or whatever. But obviously there's nothing here. Sorry, there's nothing
Okay.
here.
At the end of
Right?
the E string.
But
Mhm, yeah.
somehow he would. I try to figure out why that is. Somehow, either his strings were low enough that it was snapping back to his other hand, his other finger somehow. I don't know. I gotta go through the physics a little bit more. But what I like about it also is that you don't hear too much attack from Charlie's
Mm.
notes, right? It's
Right.
mostly, if I had to describe it, it's more like his sound is more like
Yeah.
but with attack, but with clarity somehow, right?
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
but also I think that's why when we hear that snap on his finger, it sticks out more, because most of the time his sound is not, I wouldn't say mute or muffled, but it has more of a much warmer sound, and that snap kind of sticks out like, oh shoot, there's something there somewhere. Where did
Sure.
it go?
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, for sure. Is
Right.
it almost sounds like maybe he's playing a little bit higher, like where he's plucking, he's playing a little bit higher away from the end of the fingerboard,
Right,
and
right.
like drawing out the sound that way.
Yeah,
he's
maybe.
pulling the sound out of the bass. But I always was super curious how he did that on the low, and you're totally right. He only does it on those low notes.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm like,
because there's not much real estate, right? So somehow when he does that, it's snapping back on one of his fingers. And the other things, really quick, was he was a master of form, right? He was a master of form and rhythmic phrasing,
yes,
right? He played over the bar lines, especially on his solos, a lot, right?
yes, that's
So-
that solo on this track for
Exactly.
Oh, man.
That
You have
was
to pay
his
attention.
thing. That's why I say he was a master of form. And I mean, of course, I'm sure he's got lost many times in his life. But most of the recordings I've heard from him, I've always been like, he's following the form and be like, damn, man, he always nails it. Almost,
Absolutely.
I'd say 80% of the solos I've heard, he's always nailed it. But he was just a master of playing over the bar line and using, just beautiful, long, like melodic ideas through,
Yes.
through the whole time. During his bass lines and during his solos. They're very, I don't know how.
Yeah,
Almost,
long notes. I have some double stops, and they're just like his bass lines too. He's
exactly.
playing really in the bass area. You know, I don't have my
doubt.
bass here. I'm like air bassing right up here, right? You know, he's
Right.
keeping it, you know, in the bass register.
Right.
And just playing these melodies that are, I mean, you could go back and study them too. I mean, just like the things over the bar line, like you said, and the length. And he's not making it like, here is this section, here is this chord, here is this section, here's this chord. He's just playing a melody over the whole thing, like in this circular, open type of. It's beautiful. But I had to do the same thing when I first heard this. I was like, is Charlie just playing? Like, is clearly he's not just playing. So you go back and you count all the bars, listen to Billy, you know, keeping the time. It's definitely, you know, he's 100% keeping the form.
Yes,
you know, it's
that's his thing. Right.
But you could get lost. And I think, you know, I think some folks are like, you know, when maybe they've not heard Charlie before and they've heard, you know, somebody a little bit more playing a lot over the bass or something like that, and they'll hear somebody like Charlie and be like, okay, why is this guy so special? Like, why does everybody talk about Charlie Haden? He's not, you know, he's not playing like the fastest stuff, like way high on the bass.
Right.
But you have to step back and hear all of that, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
and once that clicks, it's just like, oh my God, where, you know.
I mean, it's one word. It's personality.
Mm.
He had so much personality that, you know, I've said this about many other players. Like, anyone else is a bad imitation of Charlie if you try to play like him. You know, it's so specific, and the way he did it was so him. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
With the sound, with the rhythmical ideas, the choice, you know, nose choice, obviously, no choices.
The no choices,
obviously.
yeah, totally. Hey, man, exactly.
But, you know, all of it, man, all of it. I want to make sure I covered all my funny little things that I wrote down. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, you know, I you know, but the biggest part I think is that he played in that first and second position, right in the lower part of the bass. I mean, most of the time that was his thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but that was also the way he was able to. I mean, his thing was very special also because he was very in the moment and he knew how to make a group sound really good. You know, and had so much personality doing it. If his own thing going into the music, and that's kind of, you know, intangible, right? It's untouchable, something that we can only explain, but unfortunately we haven't been able to you know, experience it on the bandstand with other people. That's, you know, that's why he's, you know, on so many recordings. You know?
Yeah. And personality, 100%. That's you know, when you hear Charlie Haden playing, that's Charlie Haden. It's really, it's like just a few notes in and you're like, okay, that's Charlie Haden. There's no doubt about it, you know, especially when he's soloing, and his walking lines too. You know, he'll do the things, you know, like the transcription that we've got available today too. He's doing things where he's not playing, you know, like he's not setting up, he's playing all the changes. I'm not saying that he's not playing the changes at all, but he's doing it in such this beautiful flowing way, not in an obtuse way. That's not what I want to say, but it's flowing, and he's hitting these different, he's getting to the notes in the moment, each moment. And it's also really deep to hear how he's interacting with the solos, like Chet Baker soloing especially, and building with the solo by his note choices, you know, which I think is just so hip. Like there's a part, like I think in the third chorus of Chet's solo where he starts going, and I think it's in relation to what he hears Charlie doing actually, but Chet gets a little bit more intense, and it's because Charlie is pushing up towards some like higher notes in his register or whatnot. I mean, we can look at it. Yeah.
Fun trivia about Chet. I mean, he died maybe a few months after this recording.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, to think that a man who was almost on his deathbed. I mean, we knew that he had health issues and, you know, drug problems, you know, most of his life. But to think that he was on, you know, well, actually, he was relatively sick, and it was said that he either committed suicide or was murdered. He was pushed out of
the window. Yeah.
So yeah, we don't know. But he had a long history of sickness. But his tone and his time, wow, it's so beautiful, so wonderful, you know. And Pernuzzi, so you know about the pianist. He's Italian, you know, born. Obviously, the name speaks for itself. I saw him maybe a couple years ago. I've seen him a couple times, but this particular time with this fantastic Danish bassist, Thomas Fonsbach.
Okay.
Incredible bassist, incredible duo. I had seen them play duo, and they've been doing it for many years. They have recordings out, but this one time they had a special guest that came in, which was our own Open Studios Ulysses Owens. He came in and he sat in with them because they were actually getting ready to do a recording. And I gotta say, it's Ulysses is one of my very, very good friends, and I was so proud to even know him in that context, because I hadn't seen too many times where a musician could come up on a bandstand and lift a band in the way he did in that moment, especially when it was already like incredible music already happening, and he was doing it kind of like in a Charlie-esque way. It wasn't like he was going crazy. He just did what the music called for, and that's my memory of Enrico. Incredible musicians, incredible. Obviously, he's had a long run of great things. So check him out if y'all don't know him. Enrico Pernuzzi. I'm not doing his name justice just the way you were the other.
I'm not even gonna try. Again. But he's such a beautiful piano player. I remember somebody hipping me to this album that it was a trio album with him, Mark Johnson and Joey Barron. But I am blanking on the name of it. Do you know which album I'm talking about?
I don't remember the name, but I
think it's on Soul Note 2. I think it's on this same label.
They had a nice run too. They did quite some recording. I mean, at least they recorded a lot off and on over the years, that trio. So
very cool.
Because producer, he would always, over the years, he would use stateside rhythm sections, right?
Okay.
Or he'd either come here, pick play some gigs in the States, or take over the years he would do. I think Clarence Span was playing with him quite some, Scott Colley and other guys. So so he's still doing it. He's one of the only. I mean, of course, Billy Higgins, the master. Let's get into some music in a second. Oh, the one little trivia while I'm thinking about it.
Please.
Charlie was an incredible personality. Also, the one thing that we take away, he was a lover of hotels. He did. If he didn't like the hotel, it could be a Ritz-Carlton, and if he didn't like it, he'd be like, promoter, he'd be like, you need to put me in another hotel. He was
shit.
That's
funny.
He was so notorious for that.
Oh.
I mean, he was the one. I met him like maybe 2 times, and it was in passing. But he was so sweet and soft spoken. And I saw him play only one time live too, and that was by the time he had tinnitus and he maybe had it for quite some time, but he had like issues. He had to have plexiglass around him because he was very sensitive to drums. But he played his butt off.
Man, all day. Yeah, I remember the first time hearing him. I was in high school hearing Ornette Coleman's "The Shape of Jazz to Come." Of course, Ornette Coleman. I'm from Fort Worth, so I immediately was gravitated to Ornette Coleman. I'm like, all right, this guy's from, he grew up just over here, And hearing that album with Don Cherry, of course, and Charlie and Billy Higgins, and just hearing the way Charlie plays and that, I didn't know anything about jazz really when I first heard this, but I was like, I don't know anything else, but I know that this is serious music. Do you know what I mean? And I would close my eyes and it sounds like New York. It sounds like sounds like energy. You know what I mean? Like that's my own personal. I never got to see Charlie, unfortunately. Oh, no. But I have heard so many stories and listened to him so much and feel his connection with them still.
Sounds like New York, even though he lived most of his life out in California. Right. Him and Haden's. But it's all that too,
Yeah.
But anyway,
yeah.
let's get to the transcription. What's that about?
Sure. Yeah. So if you're interested, folks that are watching too, and post too, welcome. If you're not here with us live, glad you're here checking this out later. You can get the PDF of the transcription from the melody, and then underneath Chet Baker's solo. So I thought we could today look into that a little bit and just check out some of the beautiful note choices that Charlie is doing under the solo. So what do you think, Ruben?
I just saw something here in the chat. The PDF link didn't work.
Oh no!
Check spam folder. I don't know.
Okay,
Sure.
Andrew. Yeah, if I'm sure Andrew is on it in the background here.
Oh, okay.
If you have any troubles finding it, we can definitely we'll find a way to get it to you. And we're also about to put some of it on the screen. So
Okay. There
if
we
you've
go.
got your bass out, you can follow along with us.
Hmm.
So I have a thing where we can watch the bass line happen while the music is happening. Do you want to start with that, or do you want to check out some of the like the blocks? I've got them blocked off a chorus at a time, and we can look at that and talk about those note choices too.
Whatever you want to do.
Let's give it a listen again, because that's so important.
Okay.
So this is going to cut off our audio while we do this too. So let's
How many choruses you going to do so far for right now at least?
it'll be the melody and then the trumpet solo. But
Okay.
I could stop it if you want to
Yeah,
wave whatever we
Go
can
ahead,
cut
man.
it off.
Go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
But I'm gonna let it rip. Here we go. Okay, I saw the cue from over the top. Sorry that cut us off. I don't know how to move that like stuff around, so I'm sorry that was in
No,
the
it's
middle.
perfect. I mean, the one thing we got to make sure too is that the the head changes have a little bit different thing to it, right?
Yes.
There's a head changes to Visa, and then they just go into a regular blues form without doing the little extensions. I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Sure. And I purposely left the chord changes off of this so that we could talk about it and try to like maybe investigate and try to hear what's going on with the line.
Yeah, right.
In regards to the melody, but absolutely, if you especially towards the back half of this blues,
Right.
like when he's doing it.
Right.
And the first and the fourth bar over here too, where he does this little. Well, I guess that happens. He puts that in the solo changes as well. But yeah, absolutely. It's a little bit different in the melody than it is with the
which
solo.
can happen. What happens a lot of times, right? There's certain changes, in the head, and then people just are like, we want to just make it a little loosey goosey and just not have to worry about the changes. Let's go, some regular changes. I personally like that when that happens, but it's also nice to refer back to those changes to give it some kind of musical kind of identity that particular blues or that particular song. So and I'm sure that he does that from time to time. But go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
References back. No, absolutely. It's I think it goes to say too that it never has to be. It doesn't always have to be a set of chord changes all of the time. No. He's playing, like, especially in the solo, he's playing more or less he's playing the same chord changes all the time, but it's done in a different way. You know what I mean? It's in relation to the solo. But maybe we could just check out some of, like, maybe play through this. This is the first this is what he's playing underneath the first melody.
Okay.
And
yep.
maybe we can check out some of this because he repeats certain things in here too.
Uh-huh.
Especially this thing when he gets to the fourth bar, which he doesn't do it here, but he'll do this thing where he walks up and get to the fifth of the E flat major,
Right.
or the dominant
Right.
seventh chord in the fifth
Right.
bar. But he implies this like flat 9 type of,
Right.
tension.
That's some signature Hadenisms also, right? Those little chromatic notes, that he would anytime he could pull that shit out, he does.
Nice.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it, but that's also proves, this goes back to the, shameless plug, back to the bass course. There's always an available note, close, right there that you can use. You just got to know how to use it, when to use it, and it's a perfect example of it. Pretty much, I'm trying to look where that was again because it happened a few times. You said.
Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, it didn't. In the solo. Like the first chorus of Chet's solo.
Okay, yeah. And then in the second chorus. That.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Right there. Everything's right there.
Totally. And that's the thing too. If we even just look, this is like what he's doing on the melody, and you see these bigger, and it's the different changes, like where he's going. I'm looking at who walked through it. I love that he does that. Like he drops that low E because of course, why not? And these are the biggest intervals of like. Boom, boom, ba-dum, dum.
Right.
But it's all so smooth and beautiful.
Right. No doubt,
Yeah.
no doubt. And then you got those 2 5s. It's a blues of all kinds of 2 5s, right? That's E diminished,
Yeah.
But whatever it's going
That's
to be.
what. Yeah, exactly. You could say that's F minor going to B flat, but
Exactly, and then
yeah. Little side step action.
but even that's still all just the
E7.
it's still yeah, B flat 7 or E flat E7, whatever, and then that could be E flat minor 7 to A flat 7, right?
Yeah.
And then D minor 7.
Just
And,
fit.
or a lot of people would do right, but they go. Wow, that's interesting, right there.
It's different, right? Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Well, it's an A natural on the. Yeah. So he's doing.
Hey,
I know it's really small on this screen. Sorry.
That's all right.
Exactly. Yeah. Ding dong boom. Yeah.
That's slick. That's really slick. That's really
Yeah.
slick.
Man.
I love it. So what would you say? D minor 7 to G7, and then
And it both. Yeah, exactly. D minor 7, the fifth.
right?
D flat 7 to a
Yeah.
G7. So it's like
Right,
the
right,
tritone
right.
of the tritone,
Right,
maybe,
right.
or whatever.
But it
so you
all
wanna say.
works. Of course, we're getting really
Yeah.
really particular in what it is, but all of it works. I mean, even if you just play the G7 and the D flat is there, we could, it all works. But it's where he placed it, right? It's where he placed it is what separates us from him. You know what I mean?
We can look at the note choices, but yes,
Right.
exactly. It's like where he's putting the beat with Billy's ride cymbal
Right.
and in the bigger picture.
Right,
That's
no
just
doubt.
it's just beauty. You can't write out that kind of stuff. I mean,
No.
So here's the second melody. They play the melody 2 times before they go into Chet's solo.
Uh-huh.
And if we play through some of this is again the.
This is the melody. This is the melody out.
No, this is the melody in still. So they do two
okay.
in,
Sorry,
2 in.
okay.
Mhm.
I see,
Yeah, so
okay.
this is the second one. So
Oh, I see.
they play the 4 chord. Not every time, not on every blues are people going to play the 4 chord on this second
Right.
measure. I think that's important to note too. Here's that sidestepping or tritone.
7, 8 flat 7.
He does this 5th thing again. 2 diminished.
Yeah.
And wrote it as a D flat earlier. Those C sharps down there, it gets confusing, but same idea.
And he was also the master of playing repeated notes too, right? I mean,
yes.
I feel like that.
You really mean it.
Yeah. As we progress in our development, I think a lot of times that's lost. Like the art of really playing repeated notes and making them sound good. And because I think in the back of our head, or back of our minds, we're like, that's kind of elementary, and I can make something sound better.
Say that again. Yeah.
Right.
It's okay to double up those notes.
I mean,
oh yeah.
But as I said, also it was just where he placed it and where he do that. And he did that a lot. Especially, I'm noticing he did that mainly during the heads, right?
Yes.
He kind of like stated like, okay, it needs some extra grounding, I guess.
Well, he's saying these are the changes too. I mean, right? I mean, this is where I hear this moving,
right?
And better adapt or not.
Love it. God damn it.
So this is into the first chorus of Chet's solo. And again, I don't have the changes written out here, but this is a B flat blues if you're following along at home, wherever you are. So maybe we play through this one. And especially of note is that fourth bar that we were talking about earlier, where he's putting a little bit of tension there. And again, like right below that, where he's going to the G7, where the G7 would be to get to the 2 chord. Now this particular chorus too is so hip. He uses some really like obtuse lines that really work, but that G sharp, A, C sharp, he's doing some interesting stuff with tension. Anyways, let me just walk through it. I apologize, but here we go.
Jollyisms.
And this low right down there. I love that. To an F at the first note of that next chorus. He keeps moving this like nebulous flowing. It's not nebulous though. That's not the right word. But it's flowing so beautiful.
It's a little bit nebulous, but it's okay.
All right,
but it's okay. It all works. Well, that's the other thing too, because you use nebulous because actually there's like 1 or 2 bars. If I can look here, what they'd be like the 8th bar of this, the 7th, 8th bar of what we can see on the screen here, right? That's the most nebulous bar, right? Right?
Yes,
right?
Yeah, totally.
I mean, all of it works. It's some chromaticisms in there, and he probably, who knows if he meant to really do that, and he was like, oh shit, I'm back. The main thing is he got right back to where you're like, all right, this is the C minor 7 to 2,
right?
And then I think it is. Okay, right.
Well, where you think the 2 chord would fall, like that 9th bar, the bottom, that 3rd line that's on the screen here.
Right.
That doesn't really fit that C minor. What you would expect to be a C minor right there, even though he's anticipating it by that G7ish. But it just works. And it's really, I mean, we should all go back and listen to this recording, how it works with the trumpet too, with the solo and what's being stated, because this is not happening in a vacuum. Like this is happening because of everything else that's happening too, right?
Very, very good point. It's not happening in a vacuum.
It's not just Charlie. It's not just Charlie playing a bass line to play a bass line. It's all super.
He wasn't playing during a pandemic, right?
Well, we don't know what was going on.
He was playing with people. Okay, all right. I digress.
Let's see where he heads in the next. So here he is. He gets to this F. If I can do this, he gets to this F on beat 1. This is the top of the form. This is a B flat chord right here. But he's dropping this F.
Right.
And so he's whatever. If you want to get intellectual, he's delaying the resolution of it. Something he's skirting around it. Whatever. It's not just. It's not clear cut.
Right.
But he gets to the 4 chord.
Right.
Making it a dominant 7th down. And here's that flat 9 business and getting to the 5th of the 4 chord. Here's that low E, which he just can't help that. It's just like, that's too good, I'm gonna do it again. 5 chord, that's a F7 to the G. I don't know how he plays this. He's dropping this low G.
Right.
And I think maybe he's doing a little trickery in the left hand.
I like that. That's right. I got that.
Because it doesn't sound like he's doing it in his right hand.
Right.
But it's so hip and subtle and just, oh.
Right. I love it. I mean, the main thing too. I mean, what going back to what we said about his melodic playing. What I said, what you said. I mean, everything he plays, especially during his solos, I would say, are these little almost like nursery rhymes sometimes, right? You know what I mean? That's the way I always relate it. You know, or really base it. You could base a lot of what he did over a scalar approach. It was very linear, a lot of his lines, right?
Sure.
You know what I mean? It was bad.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, that's so Charlie.
See, of course, you know, I sound like a broke ass Charlie, but leaving it right there, right. I don't think I well, yeah, I did go up a little bit more, but I didn't. That wasn't very Charlie.
Not by much,
you know.
Yeah, not by much at all.
Just keeping it all right there, and those that was his thing too. He always. And that's the other thing. He wasn't afraid to play down here for his solo either.
Yeah.
I love that. I love it.
Man, I was gonna say you do a mean Charlie Hayden, man. Come on, that's beautiful. Oh my, like wow.
Man, I listened to a lot of jazz. That's why I had to stop listening to that cat for a bit. I'm getting it.
Yeah.
I love it. You know, but not all of it was Charlie-esque, because you still got to bring whatever you want to bring to the table. But, you know, but that I always I always remember sometimes playing in a trio setting where I mean the times that I get a lot of more space to play. I always remember sometimes thinking about Charlie to make some of the solos that I did much different than the last one. You know what I mean? You know,
interesting.
Where you like you know whatever you know up tempo whatever, and then there's a time where you know everyone's already. If you could just make everyone kind of listen almost, and just make that very simple statements, very simple musical statements to kind of like bring everything, you know, down a little bit, you know, because that's basically what I every time I hear, or even the few videos that I have seen, no, not few, I've seen quite some over the years now. Yeah, Charlie, it always like everyone, you have to like.
Yes, he commands that attention.
Right.
Yeah, he brings brings you in. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. I love how you said that too. You think about that, and if everything's the energy's up here, that blue flame, that whatever, like the really intense heat.
Right,
really low. Yeah.
Blue flame. I like that. I gotta
Man.
use that.
Yeah.
I gotta use that. Definitely. Charlie Haden.
Beautiful. So there's more to this walking line too. You can find it downstairs if you're tuning in. You can get the PDF down here. Do you want to check out another course? You want to go into the comments? Whatever.
Let's
what are you
go into
thinking?
the comments. I mean, I think it's all there. Get that PDF, y'all.
Listen to
and
it.
check out that record. I mean, there's another record I like. There's a you mentioned the group with that you didn't see them. You heard it. You said with Don Cherry. Was it Dewey?
Yeah.
Was it Dewey and Billy Higgins? Is that which one?
I was referencing Ornette's "The Shape of Jazz to Come."
Oh, Shape of Jazz to Come. Okay, okay.
Yeah,
so,
but of course, Old and New Dreams with Dewey, or
right.
the Charlie Haden with Keith Jarrett.
Great. So there's a. What's funny, I wasn't really turned on to Charlie until, much later in my development. A little later in my development, I knew who he was. I heard him, but probably his sound and his style hadn't resonated with me yet, right? But somehow there was this recording from Don Cherry that was done, I think maybe in the late '80s, maybe '90s, called I think it's called Art Deco.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
And it has Higgins, Don Cherry, Charlie Haden, and James Clay.
Oh,
I think the tenor player James Clay. I can't remember where James Clay is from. I think he might be from the South actually, also. But
I think he's a Texan. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not sure. Right?
We have to do a research. Google that, right? Siri.
Let us know in the comments. No, we've got a whole search team hanging out in the comments, man. They help me out all the time.
Well, anyway, that album is what turned me on pulled me into Charlie. Even though all this other stuff kind of was out there, and I think what it was that I bought that record on CD somehow. I don't know. Someone kind of told me, Charlie. I had know about Arnold Coleman, but I don't think my mind, my body, my soul wasn't there yet. I was like, no, that free stuff, I ain't trying to hear that stuff.
Yeah, and it can take some time.
And all of a sudden, that Art Deco came in. They played kind of some free stuff, but played a lot of beautiful song. And Higgins, and the sound is interesting. It's like it has that kind of a ampy thing to it, but it's still like it's beautiful and wonderful. I don't know. It's somehow his sound, the way he played on there, really pulled me in, and that's when I started to listen for him. I went backwards.
Okay. Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. So
was some of my favorite Charlie Haden, and let us know in the comments too what y'all think. I see a bunch of comments about Charlie in here, and I love it. Much love to Charlie Haden and everybody we're speaking of today too. But the Keith Jarrett quartet with Dewey Redman and with Charlie Haden and Paul Motian on drums. I kind of whisper his last name because I always feel like I'm mispronouncing.
Motion,
we know who we're talking. Paul
Shun.
Motion. Yeah. Shun. Paul Motion. Yeah. I love it so much. All those records like Birth, the Survivor's Suite. There's a bunch of them. No doubt. A bunch of really hip albums with Keith Jarrett, of course.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Let me hop into comments here. So we got a lot of people saying, "Hey." I got some friends that saw Quartet West in Little Rock. Oh yeah, in Arkansas in the '90s. Then Lovano's band afterwards. With Anthony Cox and Kenny Werner. Oh, that's a good night right there.
Nice.
That's a real good night. Cool. Oh, okay. Here's from our friend Edelson. I love the Mexican songs Charlie recorded with Gonzalo Rubalcaba. Oh yes. Man. What's that trio album with? With Gonzalo. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That is such a beautiful album, and it's all here. It's all here. It's just. Joe Lovano. Oh my gosh, he plays some incredible. I think that's the album he's talking about. There's an album because there's a couple of those albums I think he did. Anyway.
There was one I'm thinking of that's on. I think it's on. I want to say it's on Blue Note, but I haven't heard it in a while. But it's with Charlie. Anyway, yeah. So much
Nocturne.
Good music.
That's the one I'm thinking about.
Oh, okay. Cool.
That's what I'm thinking. I think it's called Nocturne. But anyway,
hey, this really, here's Edelson again. His bass lines are melodies and compositions in itself.
That's I'm saying.
Beautifully put, Edelson. Absolutely.
You got that from me, Edelson? You got that from me? No, we all know that. We all know. You're stealing my idea.
So we got a lot of friends saying, hey, we got some friends in Canada saying what's up. We got a keyboard player hanging out. What's up, Edward? Glad you're here.
All right,
Let's
we
see.
let you in. We let you in the club this one time.
Yeah, you can hang. It's cool. Damien, so hip, creating harmony and tension with no rhythmic tension. Yeah, a good point. Yeah, a lot of those quarter notes and just real. If there is some of that rhythmic stuff, it's real subtle, but it's yeah. Let's see. Okay, so here's our friend Alexandra. What does over the bar line mean? Syncopated. So
go ahead.
No, please.
I mean, no, you speak. You explain
okay.
stuff better than me, so.
Oh, please. You know it better than me. Anyways, so Alexandra, what I think we're talking about is letting notes ring and not, like, especially in his solo, if we're talking about Charlie's solo, if you listen to the recording, he's not coming back to the top of each bar. He's not, like, putting his phrasing on beat one. He's letting things happen and flow over the bar lines.
Yes, I guess if you go like...
That's all one. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Dong.
Or,
breaking up the time.
you know, I'm not really, you know, accentuating the beats or the where the chords are all the time. He just kind of like flows over and then he usually comes back to it, right? He usually comes back to it. And I feel like a lot of times that's great also as a bassist, because there would definitely be a lot of recordings where I could tell that the drummers or most of the people didn't know where he was, right? You know, you know what I mean? Because and he'll be like, and then you sit here silence, and then the drummer's like, oh shoot, let me start playing. You know what I mean?
You got it.
You know, which is cool too. But he knew exactly where he was all the time. But one thing I always say to a lot of my students or musicians, especially bassists, we have a tendency to do that. You know, let everyone and Charlie should be able to get away with it because he was a master at it. But sometimes as bassists we do it and we actually get lost, and then everyone else gets lost. But be mindful every once in a while. If you see that, if you feel it, you can usually feel that. You know, people are like, oh, I don't know where he is, and especially when they stop playing. You can help them out also during your solo. You know,
Yeah.
Play that extra little bass note for them to be like, this is where I'm at, and then keep on playing. You know, but there's an art to that also. You know,
maybe
what
a taste of the melody, or
yes, you know, make sure everyone's inclusive, because that low range, the time's already gone. Everyone's so riding on your shoulders a lot of times. It's nice to just be like, you know what? Oh, y'all know what I'm at? Let me just, okay, everybody's together, and then you get back into what you need to do.
And we're back. Exactly. And any soloist, that's a bonus thing too.
Exactly.
If it's a sax player playing and you hear things starting to get funky, help us out.
Right.
We're here to help. We're here to help you. Hopefully. So here's Dave. He seems to be using a lot of tritone subs in this. Yeah, which we've definitely got into a bit. The B natural leading down to the B flat. Yep. Then the E natural. Tasty and interesting. There's a lot of good descriptions in here. I saw something about, like you were saying, about the PDF not working. Hopefully that's situated. Here's my buddy Costa. That's a good dude right here. I saw him give a clinic in 1996. Dating myself. How old are you, Costa? I didn't know. You have the signed ticket. That's really cool. You got to meet Mr. Haden, it seems. So that's really cool. All right. Here's Chris. When I think of Charlie Haden, I remember his baseball grip. So he's talking about the left hand. All right. And so there was some, Charlie had polio when he was younger, right? And so he had some physical issues that he was dealing with, and when you watch him play too, it looks like he has, do I say it? Does it look like he has bad, quote unquote, bad technique? But it's all sounds beautiful, and he makes it work in his way. And this just, So the baseball grip, I've not heard it put that way, but that makes sense. Let's see, buddy from London's hanging out. What's up, Ron? Good to see you. Okay, I like this a lot, and I can relate. I never understood what Charlie was doing, so this is gonna help.
That's all right.
Here we are, Bill.
Right.
I love it.
All right.
Here's another insightful one. We'll keep trucking through. It really sounds like Charlie's taking control of the harmony, commanding it as the bassist. Yeah, and I was thinking the same thing, especially in the melody. But the solo changes as well. Note choices are defining the chords, leading and not following. I think that's an important part.
Well, you know,
he is not waiting.
Well, that's his whole thing. I think he was, you know, he was trying to carry on the tradition of you know, the bass legends. Also, he wanted to be a little bit more part of the conversation instead of just a thumper in the back, right? You know, he wanted to be able to really have, you know, better or be known as having, you know, more, I guess, creative harmonic choices in the music, and that but still doing his bass role, but make sure that, look, I have some serious personality harmonically, not just rhythmically, all of it. That you know, and I think, you know, him being able to play with Ornette those years and developing, you know, a style. And it's funny, I was reading some before about the time when they played. They a lot of it was very unspoken things that they would come up with on, you know, with the avant-garde, with the things he developed with Ornette Coleman and Don Cherry and Ed Blackwell and all them. You know, they would start somewhere. As far as it sounds like, they actually were playing, like, you know, chord changes and certain things at first, and then all of a sudden, you know, over time, Ornette was like, I'm not hearing that anymore, and then he would just go. And I think Charlie had these big ears, and that he carried that all through. He was able to just make it all sound right and cohesive, even you know, in that context. So just a you know, amazing, like, chameleon of a musician. You know, that's the main thing.
100%. Yeah, well put. Yeah, I know that time with, and his experience too, being involved with, like, Scott LaFaro, or being around the West Coast bass player scene, Red Mitchell, etc. You know, and that definitely, that whole movement of those bassists in that area, you know, that's big time. You know, but in a completely different style than, say, like Scott LaFaro. Or you know, but they're all individuals. Those guys are all individuals.
Incredible how individual they are. Like, have a certain thing that's very similar but very individual.
I wanted to put this one up real quick too, the Kenny Barron CD with Charlie and Roy Haynes. We're talking about Wanton Spirit, I believe, here. Great album. Take the Coltrane, slow version of Bebop. Yeah, that's definitely worth a listen. If anybody still hanging out with us has not heard that, check that. Interesting and fun. Yeah, there's great comments in here. Yeah, duos with Jim Hall and Pat Metheny.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So
Hank
much
Jones.
Good stuff.
He has
Hank Jones.
Ones with Hank Jones.
The album with Keith Jarrett too.
And Keith, yes.
Yeah, the two. Yeah, Jasmine especially. That one just so good. Yeah, Hank Jones. Yeah, he was all about these duo albums too. I love them.